Well, hello everybody. Hi, I'm just trying to get everything running here this evening. Here, just give me a second while I put some stuff together. Oh, let's see. Maybe I know where this is. Just a second here. No, I don't know where that is. Hello everyone. I'm trying to get the chat running. Give me just a second here. Let's see. I'm supposed to select car images here. Okay. The excitement is just unbelievable here. Oh, great. Now I don't even remember how I'm supposed to get in here. Yeah, I am sorry that I was so late. And I'm also sorry that I'm here with you this evening, here from my office. Normally, of course, you'd be looking at me with my crew of players um, at Mythos Games. Um, ah, well, let's see. We're still trying here. And you'd think it would be easier to do, but no, apparently not. Heavens here. Well, great. Now I can't seem to figure out how I got the chat to go. Oh, swell. Look, I apologize again, like I said, for this evening. Um, Here I am at home, and the reason that I'm broadcasting here from home this evening is because last weekend I was in a meeting and with some people that I know very, very well, and uh, good friends here and neighbors. And a couple of days after spending about an hour with them, maybe about 6 feet away. Anyway, it turns out that one of them had been tested positive for COVID Omicron. And so they let everybody know. Well, usual procedure is if of course, um, I'm sorry, just a second here again. If one is within, spends an hour within a certain distance of someone, and that oh, here we go. This could be very helpful. Um, oh, oh, of course. Well, we're going to try that then. Okay. I'll do this right. Anyway, if one spends a certain amount of time close, within an hour with somebody from that kind of proximity, if they test positive, then if you haven't had the vaccine, then you're supposed to quarantine. But I have had the vaccine and all of the boosters and so forth, and so I'm supposed to, at least when I go in public, I'm supposed to wear a mask. And heavens. Oh, huzzah! There we go. So, and so that I found out on Tuesday, and have to be. It has to be like 5 days after the event. Oh, hello. Yes, let's see. Underleveled. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, Clark. Hey, everybody there. Good. Uh, and thank you. I'll now at least I'll be able to communicate. Anyway, so the point is that I'm under this period. I'm right in this period where I'm supposed to always wear a mask in public until I can get my test, which is on Friday. And I'm completely and fully expecting, of course, for that test to come in I mean, it's going to be like my fourth or fifth time I've taken the COVID test, and every time it comes in a negative. So, and hi, Deja Vu, good to see you too here, and Underleveled, good to see you, and Alex Clark, and Collis, yes. Yep, we are. We're doing everything we can actually here to be safe. Like I say, so the whole consequence of all of this is that our usual game that we would hold this evening at Mythos Games, well, we can't because just the idea of DMing with the mask and it seemed kind of bizarre. So we've postponed it until next week. But I thought I'd pop on here this evening, and yes, I'm actually doing very well, thank you, Alex. I don't have any symptoms other than the usual kind of stuffy nose sort of thing that I have every winter about this period of time. So I'm doing just fine, and Laura, of course, is doing just fine. It's been a good week. Actually, I always feel better getting back to work. The holidays were great, but the holidays were just jam-packed with parties and gatherings and get-togethers and just so much fun. An interesting story, Dragon Knight. You say that I should have used the lizard cure because it works really very well. The truth of the matter is that excuse me, I may have told this story before, but through much of my adult life, I have suffered from kidney stones from time to time. And the very first time I had a kidney stone, I of course had no idea what it was. I was just horrible, and it is unbelievably painful. And so we were living in Wisconsin at the time, and so they took me to the hospital, and they took a look at me and said, "Well, we got to get some painkillers in him." Well, one of the things that I did not know, one of the facts I did not know at the time, was that more liquor and alcohol, hard liquor, is consumed in Wisconsin than just about anywhere else in the nation. It just was, I don't know, antifreeze, whatever. But and so when people come into hospitals in Wisconsin, very often they have to give them a little extra, to kind of make any kind of an impact on the pain. And they took a look at me and decided that I needed a little bit extra, and they gave me actually quite a lot extra. And I woke up about 4 days later. When I did, Margaret Weiss had brought to me the lizard cure. And it was this plastic lizard actually that was on a string that that I could wear, and I was still a little bit out of it. And so somewhere, I'm pretty sure that there is a picture of me in a wheelchair being wheeled out of the hospital with the lizard cure hanging around my neck. Let's see here. I am assuming that can you hear me out there, by the way? I'm hoping someone will tell me that. Hello, Lou. Yes. Thank you. We had an excellent start to the new year. As a matter of fact, I had a very nice Christmas. My family was very, very good to me this Christmas. In fact, I'll share some of that with you here this evening. Deja wanted to know if Skyriders uses custom classes. And as a matter of fact, or the standard 5e classes, we actually have a mixture in Sky Raiders. We have some new classes, although we don't. It's interesting. Dungeons and Dragons, of course, has been around for many decades now, as have I, and I believe that we could. I believe that some evolution is important in all games. That we should change as we evolve. That the game should evolve with us to a certain extent. So we talk about classes, but I think that for me, classes as a name just never quite worked for me. What is a class of character? I think makes some sense, but in general terms, it always felt more like a profession, or your not really a career, but more like a profession. So there will be the standard, what we think of as the standard classes, but there are also some new classes that are specific to this world, and so I'm very excited to actually get those out. Maybe you could talk a little bit more this evening about the current developments in Sky Raiders, and where we're at with all of that. It will be published under 5e Open Gaming Rules, so it will be familiar in terms of how the games run. But there are some special new things that we're bringing to the game that we're really very excited about. We did, like I said, we did have a good start to the new year. I got some really great gifts this Christmas. Games, of course, are always exciting for me, and I love games at Christmas time. I love playing games at Christmas time. For my wife, we got I got her an Everdale board game, which has been really delightful, and we've really enjoyed playing Everdale all through the holidays. We also played, we had an expansion for my son's game of Fallout, the Fallout board game. Last year, he and I spent a good part of our time together in, painting all of the miniatures from his Fallout set. So we did that. My big Christmas gift this year that Laura gave me is a 3D printer, and I have to admit I've been going through PLA spools like crazy ever since I got it set up and operating. In fact, one of the things that I got this Christmas was a Descent board game. Actually, I got this for my birthday. I've probably mentioned this before. I got this for my birthday. My wife gave me this for my birthday, and the and of course the original Descent game came with these cardboard set pieces for the game, and so we'd have like a double door here, or we'd have like this treasure chest. It's very treasure chest like, all done in paper, of course, or this kind of rather flat cauldron, but a cauldron nevertheless. Anyway, while I was online, I actually found a set of STL files, 3D printer files that made the pieces for the game. So I've printed out this cauldron, this 3D cauldron, to replace my flat cauldron here with something that's really kind of cool. And I've also printed out these treasure chests to take the place of the cardboard treasure chests here. And so and instead of the cardboard door, then I've got these 3D printed versions of the door that I'll be able to paint up like my minis and use those in the game. So, you know, as let's see. Bob Sullivan. Yes, yeah. You wanted to know if I found the learning process with 3D printers to be pretty intuitive. It was interesting because I have an Ender 3 printer that my wife got for me, and the setup was kind of like reading hieroglyphics because it was all pictures, right? And if I didn't quite understand how they were dealing with the pictures, then it didn't quite connect. And so I watched a lot of YouTube videos in terms of making sure I got it set up properly. I got it halfway built before I figured out that the cabling I needed to be free was wrapped around the bottom of it, and I had to take it apart and put back together again. Then it came the moment when I had to figure out where all the plugs went, all the different little data connection plugs went. And it actually, once I figured out what they were getting at, it was actually pretty easy to do. For me, once I understood what was necessary, once I understood, yes, thank you, the absolute paramount necessity of getting the table bed level, okay, then I said, well, okay, maybe I'll try this, just to see. If I can get it to go. And as a matter of fact, this chest, this game chest for the game is actually the absolute first piece I printed was this chest. And it came out beautifully. I thought, oh, this is like magic, how this is done. As I think I wrote somewhere, give a man like me a toy on Christmas, and I'll play with it for a few days. Give me a 3D printer, and I'll be printing toys for the rest of my life. That's yeah, I've learned a lot about the 3D printing, and and now, of course, I want to print everything. It does require a lot of patience, because unlike science fiction, it doesn't just and a lot of these prints can take, at least with my printer, of course, other printers have different capacities, different speed, but with my rather sturdy, reasonably priced printer, it can take hours, sometimes half a day, if it's a very large piece or and complicated piece. But I've actually have two of my big arch pieces downstairs. I painted those this afternoon, or put the primer on this afternoon. So I'll be painting those up as well as the other pieces. I ran through my first spool of printer material, and I've got more coming tomorrow. So I can see that this is going to be a monkey on my back. The next step for me, of course, is to not only to download and print things that are exciting for me and fun for me to do, but I need to step beyond that next and start modeling. I've actually loved, most of my life I've really loved the idea of sculpting, and have wanted actually to get into physical sculpting and bronze sculpting. But I think now, after having had so much fun in this particular medium, that I'd like to do some sculpting in this medium, to do some figure sculpts maybe, and some other things like that, and get my hand into 3D printing, and making my art there, perhaps. So we'll see how all of that turns out. I found online the other day a 3D printable model of the Nautilus submarine, that looks just like the Disney Nautilus from the old film. And yes, thanks, Crims. Actually, my son suggested I get into Blender, so your advice is being well received. So I will get into Blender and see what I can do there. But as I was saying, I found this 3D printable model of the Nautilus, and I've always loved the romantic kind of steampunk look of the Nautilus in the old Disney film. So I found this model. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. And then I looked under the description of it, and it turns out that it's like 66 inches long. It's like a 6-foot model. My wife is very good to me, but I'm pretty sure that a 6-foot model is not something I'm going to, be able to like put over the mantle. It's just, yeah, it is. It would actually be a couple of spools of printing material to get that done right there. Actually, I have one of the games that I have here is U-Boat, a U-Boat simulation board game that I liked playing with my son, and it has like this maybe almost 3-foot model, I think, of a U-Boat, with cutaway interior. All of it is done in cardboard, right? And so you're like assembling all these cardboard pieces to make this U-Boat on the table, and then play this game with moving little figures around in the different compartments of the U-Boat, and to play in order to play the game. Well, I found actually online a model that a U-Boat model designed specifically for the game. It's pretty amazing too, because it's built in compartment sections, and it's designed so that you can put magnets between the sections and just assemble it. Just kind of click all the magnets together, and you've got your submarine. But at the same time, it's built at the right size so that when you take all the pieces apart, it'll fit in the box. And I've wanted to like build this for this game forever, and as it turns out, my cute little printer here will be capable of doing it. It may take a good part of my life just to print out all the pieces, but at least that's a possibility. So anyway, I've had a lot of fun making toys. My grandchildren are all convinced that I am in fact Santa Claus. And now I make toys, so judge for yourself. So anyway, so I did. I had a wonderful Christmas. Christmas is a special time for our family. We always get together and have a special program on Christmas Eve. And this year we held our Christmas Eve program at my son's house, which was my son Curtis's home, which was pretty exciting for us because the year before, of course, we were in COVID lockdown and had to do our Christmas program virtually. We held our Christmas program last year, a year before last, I guess, now, over Zoom. And it was great to see each other, but the unfortunate part of that presentation was that my wife and I and my eldest son, or youngest son, Jared, and my daughter Tasha and her husband Alton, we had practiced and practiced and practiced with handbells to play Carol of the Bells, and we just finally, there had been a time many Christmases ago when we tried it, and it had been an absolute unmitigated disaster. And so we practiced really hard. We got really good at it. Got up there on our Zoom conference call, started ringing the bells, and we were so proud of ourselves because it sounded great where we were. But unfortunately, the conferencing camera that we were using, the microphone on it, when it would hear those bell spikes, would cut out because it would think that it was too noisy and would like just stop. So every time we'd ring a bell, the sound wasn't going anywhere. So we got to the end of our amazing performance, and everybody just kind of. That's because we were the only ones who heard it. So this year we did the Carol of the Bells, and we did it live in person to the audience of our family, and it was awesome. We actually were pretty good at that. I wanted to give everybody also while we're all here, and thanks for joining me this evening. I know it's ridiculous, and you're expecting something a little bit different than my rattling on here tonight. I do want to give you something of an update in terms of Sky Raiders and what's going on with that. Of course, over the Christmas holidays, there wasn't any time for anything. We were just having too much celebration. But now that we've settled back into January, which is a great time to get some work done, we have, Laura and I have been working on the Player's Handbook primarily. At this point, we want to make sure that Aberox is solid, that the island is solid, that the character generation is solid, especially because we're making some changes in character generation. I think we've, as we've mentioned, we're actually doing some upgrades, what we think of as upgrades in terms of approaches to characters. We're moving away from race and splitting actually the concept of race into ancestry and culture. Ancestry are those things that you inherit from your ancestors, and in some and so when you have the Barong and the humans and the Fae, all of whom inherit qualities from their ancestors. But then we've also got culture as well, which are the things that we learn within the societies in which we grow up. And so it's very exciting for us because if you are Barong and you are raised in a Barong culture, that will mean one thing. But if you are human and raised in the Barong culture, it adds a completely different kind of a mix to the character and the character that you play. So I'm very, very excited about that. We've been working that in our Ethos system, which we think is a better approach, a more interesting approach to the idea of alignment. ethos doesn't deal so much with good and evil as it deals with how concerned we are with others and how concerned we are within ourselves. And it's an interesting approach. Actually, I think you're going to find it quite fascinating from an exploration of what is positive and what is negative in our ethos, our ethics. So all of these, of course, are going into the new yes, yeah. We and in fact we are even considering the idea of splitting culture in terms of societal culture and familial culture, because I think in life we find those things sometimes at odds, and so we're exploring that possibility as well to see how that works out in terms of coming to a picture of almost cloud picture of the ethics of individuals, who we are and who we meet. Yeah, I agree, Crims. I think that ethos is a far more interesting approach to the ethics of people that we are play in the game and those people who we meet. Also dealing with, to a certain extent, dealing with the idea of charisma in the game. Charisma is, on a very surface level, charisma is, everybody feels, or at least I used to feel, that charisma was all about how good looking I was, and if I had a low charisma, I was somehow ugly. That's, of course, way oversimplistic and actually not very helpful, I think, in terms of societies and people today. But charisma, as we've more come to learn about it in 5th edition, charisma is more about force of character, which has its own problems, I think. But Laura and I are also exploring ways as to how charisma works cross-culturally. Frankly, if you're a nobleman and you are stepping into like a waterfront bar, your charisma may work against you. Same would be true if if you were a tradesman, like a blacksmith, for example, or a cooper, and suddenly found yourselves in the courts of royalty. Would you be able to fit in? So there are a lot of interesting explorations that we're making in here, and also coming to know the world a great deal better. And of course, I think we just finished today. I just finished today doing the working out the basic structures of the handbook and what we've got filled in there so far, and haven't dealt with the magic section yet. Got to do that as well. But it's filling out nicely, and we're very, very excited about the direction that we're taking all of this. Yeah, I think so. Charisma is kind of like how charming you are. But hello, Josh. Good to see you this evening. But I don't think that charisma is charm, because, like I say, or as I was just saying, I think that being charming in a royal court is different than being charming at a waterfront bar. I think charm, you need charm in both, but I think that it's a different kind of charm, and I'd like to be able to deal with that in our game as well. One of the biggest things that I'm wanting to get to here very shortly actually is Aeroships and how they fly. Laura and I have worked out very carefully how Aeroships function, and the function of the Aeroships themselves has very deep roots in the world itself and the events of the world. So I'm very excited to get that built and in place, especially since the players in our game have managed to actually get an aeroship to fly. Don't know how well, and they're going to run into some challenges here very, very quickly. Not just with the ship itself, but with many other things. I can't tell you too much about that because some of them might be listening, and I don't want to give the game away. Am I sticking to standard 5e skills or the new skills? I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm kind of struggling with classes, skills, and hello, Bo. Yes. I'm kind of struggling with classes, skills, and professions, and feats. To me, in 5th edition, it all feels kind of a muddle of concepts. Classes we're all very, very familiar with, but in my mind, classes feel more like professions than classes. But there are professions, but they're a very minor part of... and I don't want to get the nomenclature all mixed up. So Laura and I are working through that right now, and we may actually have to come up with a completely different term just so we won't confuse everybody about what we're doing. But we are having a great deal of fun, and it's very, very exciting for us. We have a lot of work to do because we've got to get these books built and ready to go here this year. We have quite a big year, in fact, ahead of us. I think, as you have probably seen or heard, we have announced the Dragons of Deceit, our first new Dragonlance novel, that's coming out the 1st of August. So between that and the Skyraiders project, and I am also very importantly back working at the Void to bring it back and to help bring it back for everyone's enjoyment. It's going to be quite a year, a very busy year. It's also, and in addition to all of that, and maybe because of all of that, we are very much hoping to be able to return to the conventions again in this coming year. Gen Con, I'd love to get back to Gen Con. Laura and I would love to do a killer breakfast at Gen Con this year, especially with the new book coming out. And of course, it'd be really great if we could bring Skyraiders with us. It's and potentially Dragon Con down in Atlanta, and possibly others as well. Maybe you guys could let us know actually what conventions you think we should should attend here this coming fall. It's one of the best ways for us to get books signed for you, and so I'd love to see you. I'd love to get together and meet with you again. Yeah, James. Well, hopefully we can do it again. DragonCon is a huge party and a little bit frightening, but as for a con in Utah, usually we'll attend FanX when we have the opportunity to do so. It's more of a media event, but if our friends are there, I don't mind. Laura and I don't mind visiting. Let's see. Gosh, Taboo wants Skyraiders books and stories. Skyraiders, the books, of course, the game books we're working on very strenuously right now, but at the same time, there is every possibility of us doing some fiction work in this really amazing world. So we're going to leave the door open on that one. This year would be a little tough because, my goodness, have we ever got a lot of work to get done. I don't know as there's a lot of D&D related cons in California. There used to be a Gen Con that was held in Anaheim for a couple of years, and I kind of missed that. And San Diego Comic Con is just you get lost in it. But if there's a California con, I wouldn't mind coming down to do that. So Rembrandt wants to know if I ever do cons in England. We actually have done conventions in England, and we love coming to England. Yeah, underlevel. Yeah, San Diego Comic Con is a bit of a nightmare, and the times that I've been there, I got lost. It as I recall, it took me about an hour and a half to get from one end of the dealer floor to the other. And in fact, Margaret Weiss had a booth there some years back, and my wife was there in the booth with Margaret while I was off looking at ray guns over at the Weta booth. And while I was gone, Joss Whedon stopped by, and Laura got her picture taken with him and met him and got to talk with him. And throughout all of that, she somehow had forgotten entirely the existence of cell phone technology and did not let me know that he was there. So, yes, I missed meeting Joss Whedon. What can I say? But yes, we do conventions around the world. We've actually done the Lucca convention in Lucca, Italy, and which we found very, very exciting and a lot of fun. We have good relations with them, so we may actually want to do Lucca again. And we've even done conventions in Singapore. So we are certainly not opposed to visiting our friends abroad. In fact, I've got some very good friends in England. My good friend Katie's in England, and I'd love to see her there again. Long Beach Comic Con, yep, I could probably do that. Long Beach would be a lot of fun. So let's see. I've got my dear sweet wife is waiting for me, and I don't. And I much as I love hanging around with everybody here, and I'm enjoying this very much this evening. Before I go, though, are there any other questions that you might have for me? We've got a very busy year ahead of us here. A lot of magic is going to be built, and I can sit here in my office and watch my 3D printer while I do all of that. It's one of the biggest problems, by the way. The one problem I found with my 3D printer is that I get kind of mesmerized by the machine as it builds my toys bit by bit, and then I forget about what I'm doing. We did. Thank you very much, Lou. We had a great Christmas. We had a great New Year's. But more importantly, I think we're going to have a great year ahead of us. Hopefully in this year, you and I will all be able to get together again and find joy in our stories and in meeting in person. I've missed that very much. So remember, there's a Kickstarter for the Player's Handbook. Yes, we had a hugely successful Kickstarter for it. You can actually look it up, Sky Raiders, on Kickstarter. The campaign is closed, but as soon as we open up our Pledge Manager, which should be later, I believe, this month, if I'm not mistaken, there would be an opportunity, I think, for those of you who missed the party the first time around to be able to join us and enjoy our Sky Raiders fun. Yep, big year today, and as always, Laura and I are grateful to all of you for making this ride possible. Let's see, Underleveled wants to know any updates on when we could update our pledge on Backer Kit. I think we should be able to go. I believe we're going live with Backer Kit this month, and we'll let everybody know as soon as that takes place. And then you can absolutely please upgrade your pledge. We've got so many fun and exciting things, and there's some new developments actually in Sky Raiders that I hope to be able to tell you about over the next few weeks. That is really very exciting, I think, for all of us who love to game and build games. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and thanks for joining us this evening. I'm sorry that there was no game tonight, but I wanted to make sure that we connected and touched base here in this wonderful, shiny new year. All right, best wishes to everybody, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully back with the game. Okay. So thanks, everybody. Fly high and to the winds, Buccaneers, to the storms. Sky Raiders fly. Good night, everybody.